only Group B because you went second, not because I hate you more, but also because of that. You guys on the trolley also get a nice view along the way. This is different, though, than them going through what it's looked like big buildings and seeing a lot of students and academia in the area. This, as you head further south, you now get an up-close look at the tents, the brightly colored tents and canvases and smaller stalls, temporary ones, more permanent ones. The trolley is a little bit noisy on its own, but as you head further south, what you start picking up is just this cacophony of voices. People shouting out their wares, people haggling in loud voices, some negotiations going well, some you can tell just from passing by, getting more heated and more loud as they go along. This entire district has, just from the spot you can see on the trolley, thousands of stalls of various sizes and a few other bigger buildings that you can't even see exactly what they are, but you can only assume. Like, these make Gothak's goods look like a temporary stall of their own in comparison in size. And then passing through, it takes a good 15 minutes just to get through that particular region because there's so much to it. But eventually the trolley pulls up on the docks. And what you can see to the south is a relatively well-fortified area. To the exterior, there are still what appears to be, it was even difficult to see from the room, but about 15-foot tall walls that extend through, as far as you can see in both directions, looking out to the south, that block off the complete view of the ocean. And in between them, there appears to be some kind of gate system, mechanized in nature, that allows entry and exit for what you assume are approved ships and boats and other craft of their like. You also see dozens of docks. There were four at Sagara Cove, and you went over to a warehouse in one of them and investigated it, and that was all kind of a decent-sized area. This dwarfs that by a magnitude of like tenfold, and there are hundreds of people carrying goods to and from ships, working on repairing one of the docks that you can see near the entrance as you come in. There's some warehouses that... So as you come in, you see the docks ahead of you in both directions. To your left and right up this like large cobblestone street are then what appear to be a series of buildings that look similar to the warehouses you saw in Sagara Cove that appear to be for storage in the area. It is a zoo. And it's not surprising because even the people who are less familiar with Aramea know that, like, Lycidian, as a port town in addition to the capital, is by far the hub of commerce. And as such, you have no idea, but you can venture a guess that there are probably people from every other port city here in one capacity or another.
What do I know about the guilds? Really quick here. What's like the 101 of guilds, and what do I know about it? How many there are?
Make a history check.
What they are. Okay, it has kicked me out for some reason, but now I'm back. Almost there. 10.
This was not something that you ever really covered in great detail with your father back in the day, but you do have a cursory knowledge of the city and its guilds. It's not encyclopedic, but you know that there are dozens of them of various sizes. There is a core group of maybe 5 or 6 that are the biggest, and then some other ones that have more specialized interests. But you would know of Spondylix, which is the Bankers Guild. That's on the Southern District. You would know of the Crusade, certainly. That's the Adventurers Guild. They're to the east, but they're maybe the biggest of them all in terms of at least sheer membership, if nothing else. You would know, at least to some degree, that there are plenty of artisans guilds from pretty much everything you can think of. Like, there are apprentice-level ones, journeyman ones, mastership ones for weavers and masons and architects and all those walks of life. As far as what might be down here, you are at least familiar with the idea that there is a fisherman's guild. That is somewhere, at least in the southern section of Lycidian. And then beyond that, not entirely sure what else might be to the south.
Are there like 4 or 5 like the main houses / guilds in this area?
As in Lycidian in a whole or to the south?
Like all of Lycidian, or even really across Aramea?
In Lycidian, which essentially also dictates all of Aramea, Crusade's probably the biggest. The Bankers Guild is way up there. The Scholars Guild at Prudential Hall, by nature of running pretty much the entire Western District, is one of the larger ones. The most powerful ones are the Governing Union, the Judges Guild, and the Council, but that's not a guild. They
So
operate
there's
above
not
that.
like competing adventures. Like if you want adventure, you have the Crusaders, and that's about it.
No, and even knowing your brief history of it, there was a time where Lycidian was in that fashion, but over time, either competition swelled to the point where one conquered the other, or they combined forces for like purposes, to the point where, at least in Lycidian, there's one game in town for each one. Outside of that, there are sub-guilds and other things that may have different purposes and competing interests, but for primary purposes, Lycidian has one game in town for each because it's become a war of attrition over the decades and centuries.
Okay. Cool. So I'm sitting, I'm kind of quiet. I don't really seem to be observing that much around us, even though I probably should be. I have the picture in my hand that I'm kind of like rattling between my fingers of the other hand, and I seem kind of lost in thought a little bit.
I kind of sidle up next to you, and I'm like, okay, so I shouldn't have expected anything else, but this is gigantic. I don't know where we should start, even at the docks. Crash, you said that you knew the docks. Could you give us a little bit of a tour or something?
Do I have any idea where to go to start poking around, asking what? I assume if nothing else, a bar would be a good place to start asking around for a shipbuilder.
Make a history check with advantage. You have been here. It has been a while.
Thank God for advantage.
Thank God for advantage. Otherwise, you could do something like roll 2 ones.
Good. No, that's really good.
We really went double 1.
Yeah, well, it's double 3.
Oh.
Well, but it's
Yeah,
minus
but it's a
2.
negative 2.
So it
Right.
is. Oh, so it is
It's
not a
fun.
double natural 1, but a double 1. I see.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Karash is the
Oh.
darndest thing. You know you've been here. You recognize some of the stuff as you look around, and yet you're like, I don't know. There's other port towns you've liked more than this place. This place was almost too busy for someone from a smaller village like you, and you didn't really enjoy your time here, nor did it leave as much of an impact as it probably should have. That said, the one thing you do know, since it wasn't a natural one, is that there is like a helmsman of sorts on the docks that handles a lot of the comings and goings. There was somebody in a similar position at Sagara Cove. It's a much more official position here, but they at least would have some idea about what places were in the docks.
So just a dockmaster?
Essentially, yes. And you also
Okay.
do know that there was not a bar in this area.
Aurora is an engineer in the docks. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Did he say anything more specific of than that, or engineer docks?
I mean, I can meta pigeon in here and say that they were supposedly they're building a ship.
Okay.
So they're in the docks somewhere or somewhere along the coast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so if they're building a ship, they're probably in some dry docks or something.
So if you were looking for them, you're in the right place. You could even be like, is there a straight, if you could find a high enough point, you could probably just eyeball and maybe see it if they haven't camouflaged it somehow.
Yeah, I'm gonna just for while. So Crash is like, "Whoa, where are we?" And I'm gonna be like, I'm just gonna kind of sidle up next to people because I assume people are just like everywhere else. They're walking fast. They have places to be. So I'm just gonna kind of walk next to them and be like, "Excuse me, sir. We're looking for a place on the docks, maybe dry docks where engineers would be working, constructing a ship." And if that one didn't work, then I would immediately go to the next one and just kind of ask 4 or 5 people in quick succession if I needed to.
Okay. Make a persuasion check.
Listen, I know you have the answer.
This is a skill we need to use more often. I've been bad about it.
23.
Okay. Asking around real quick, there are a couple people who kind of brush you off because, again, some of them look like they're extremely busy, But a couple of people who then you're able to kind of stop and talk to, at least fill you on the basic premise. Based on the question you asked, they can tell you that there are some larger warehouses that also have access to the water. And you can kind of see them on the far sides. They're hard to pick off from this distance because this stretches across like literal miles of the coastline, this entire docks area. But some of the warehouses actually have access to the water so that bigger ships can come in and then be in a covered area. So you can kind of effectively, from that conversation, at least rule out the ones that are on the other side of the street and the more immediate docks, because you can look around. And I didn't have you guys make a perception check, but you're not going to miss a giant boat. There aren't any like huge boats in this area. There are mid-size and smaller ones, but ones that really match the description you're looking for don't seem to come into this like main central area of the docks.
And what about what did you just call him? A helmsman for kind of like this district?
Yes, Dasso. Well, you could find him in this building, and they kind of point to you down to the west. There's a decent-sized building there. Hard to miss it. It'll have a sign on the outside, but you can find him there if you have any inquiries about like specific deliveries or shipping or that nature.
Thank you so much. So I go back and I let the group know. I think we're going this way. Karash, is that like triggering anything? It's this building over here.
Yes, of course. That is correct.
Well, excellent. I'm very happy to hear it. And then
So
I guess we head that way.
You find out something?
Yeah, just the location of the helmsman is over here, and then I relay all the stuff about which places we can at least narrow it down to that she might be working today.
That's more than I could have done. Nice work, Isaac.
Thank you.
I was just standing there, clearly. So.
You guys head to the west where you were directed, and you pretty quickly find this building that essentially looks like, how do I describe this? I had one earlier and I forgot it now. It's like the cashier's area at a casino where you walk inside and there's a pretty expansive area where it's walled off with glass, and there's certain openings where you can see like specific businesses meant to be done and in both directions, but also like it's walled off so that whatever business dealings are going on the inside and whatever cash on hand they keep and goods and the like is kept separate from anybody who might just wander into the lobby area. And inside, so it's got a couple of different vents cut in the glass where it seems like you could talk to someone on the other side, and there's a couple people there. Only one of them a male, which will hopefully match the Dasso description, but one of them appears to be standing on top of something because he's a halfling as you enter.
Grail, I think that's Dasso. Why don't you go talk to him?
Me?
You're more charming than I am, and Karash.
My sweet dear Isaac. I don't know about that, but
I'm gonna walk up to him while they're chatting.
Excellent.
Okay.
Good. That's perfect.
Dasso.
I hope that was Dasso.
I guess I'll go over too then.
Here we go.
As you walk up and say this, you see this is a older halfling, short, straight, dyed black hair, pretty dark brown eyes, relatively obese for a man who's only 3'4". He appears to be engrossed in some kind of paperwork he's writing as you kind of approach and say this. But as you say this name, he looks up and he says, "Yes, how can I help you?"
We are looking for an engineer of some note for a job. What Aurora is her name? Could you direct us to where I might find her specifically, or someone who might know?
Yes, Aurora. We're here. We know someone that knows her, and he said if we're ever in Lycidian, look her up. And then I describe her based on what Dunask has told us.
Okay. He says, "Well, there's a lot of engineers here, I suppose. Most of the time, we don't let people bother them while they're working. What do you need her for?"
Just real quick, we just love to say hi really fast, maybe set up some evening plans. We're in the area, and the city's so huge, we didn't want to squander our time down here in the docks.
He kind of like, go ahead.
We were asked to speak to her about a problem. I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
We don't need to bore the man with all the details, Crash. We won't take a lot of our time. We just really want to make plans for later.
He kind of like sighs, mostly because he looked like he was busy when you came up, but he's not like dismissing you. He's just like, this is not what I wanted to deal with right now. And he says, well, at the very least, if you want to give me some contact information, I can make sure the note gets to her, and maybe she can find time tonight. I don't know, but not really allowed to go just wandering about the warehouses.
It's maybe she's on a lunch break soon. If you could just point us in the right direction, maybe we can just kind of wait around and see what we see.
We don't really like folks just wandering around the warehouse unless they have a specific purpose. It's busy down here. We don't want people getting hurt.
Sir, we're not here for very long. She can try to contact us. I'd feel a lot better about being able to actually connect with her if there was a way we could just try to see her really quick. We won't take a lot of our time, I assure you.
Well, I'm under strict orders not to interrupt, so either the message gets passed or you don't see her at all. You can have it your way.
Well, what do you think, Grail?
And I kind of sigh, and I look at Dasso, and I say, listen, she's a very, very close friend of a friend, and we needed to pass on some information, and we can do that later, but could you maybe just please let us say just one word to her? And I can roll persuasion if you want me to. Yep. I'm trying to ham that up.
Yeah, go ahead. I also like the idea of like this actually working, but then him being really ironclad about the one word.
I know. I meant it as like a word, please, as opposed to single word.
Shit, I wasted my word.
16.
16. He gives you a little more time of day than he had been either Karash or Isaac, and he kind of leans forward. He looks at the other teller of sorts who's manning this particular desk behind the glass, and he then kind of leans forward, propping up his body over the counter since he's already standing on something to elevate him, and he says, look, if it were up to me, you could see her. It ain't up to me. Those orders come from higher above, and I ain't one to cross them. If you'd like to hang around and try and catch her, that's fine, but just understand, the work they do, they put in their hours, and they're busy the whole time. You're unlikely to come across her. Wish I could be more help, but again, I ain't about to lose my job over something like this.
I totally, completely understand, and I thank you for saying that. If we were to wait around, I think we should do, in the small chance that she may come out. Where would you recommend that we wait?
Well, I don't know her especially well. I've only seen her around a couple times, but she's in one of those warehouses further west of here.
Great.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for your help, and
I appreciate it.
We would love, if it's not too much trouble, to give her our contact information. And I write out, I guess, where we're staying. I can't write my fucking text number. Yeah. So I'll tell her where. What's up?
Oh, I was going to say, just be sure to mention Dunask.
Yes, Dunask, on behalf of Dunask. And we're staying at the Ritz-Carlton, room 523 in the center of town.
Okay. Do you leave any of your names besides Dunask?
Oh.
No, we literally say friends of Dunask.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't
That
think
seems
so?
real sketch.
What is our names going to do? She has never heard of any of us.
I know, but I feel like if we leave nothing, that's going to be suspicious.
Okay, leave.
I will put my name in.
All right, that sounds good. Should we put like on behalf of, what's the daughter's name?
Sophia.
Ooh.
On behalf of Sophia or something? Or is that too much?
Nope. I think Dunask is enough, but
yeah, that's
I think...
true. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Grail, whatever your last name is, and on behalf of Dunask.
Light Ghost!
I knew it was light something.
Ghost.
Okay.
Grill Lockhart.
Yes. All right, that works.
Okay, so you pass that note to him. He kind of gives you a nod, says, if I see her, I'll pass it to her. Wish I could do more, but it's the best I got.
I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. You guys head back outside. Anything else you'd like to do?
So, factory to the west of here. If we're looking, and you said these are pretty large areas.
Yeah.
How many do we see to the west? Is there like one to the west, or are there like four?
West, east. There are somewhere between 12 and 15 big warehouses to the west.
Care to take a walk?
I don't think it hurts. We have until evening, right? And it took, how long did it take to get here? Couple hours?
Maybe less.
Okay.
Maybe like 45 minutes in total. Plus
Okay.
what you've done so far.
So we have time to burn. We might as well try.
Let's walk around. Let's just be as unsuspecting as possible.
Crash, do you remember what Aurora looks like?
Crash, do you remember anything?
Was I the one who's seen Aurora before?
No. They described Aurora, and I just want to make sure you remember the details.
Sure. I don't have her specific description written down anywhere, sadly.
How about
I don't think we got one.
I don't think we've ever heard it. I'm just like going off the knowledge that we did, because that would be awfully silly.
Are you Aurora? Are you Aurora?
Right. I'll grant that he at least gave you a basic description, yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
what if we do this? There's about a dozen factories over here. What if we split up? We take them one by one and see what happens.
You don't spend a lot of time near docks, do you?
What? Someone gonna throw us out?
No, someone will likely stab you, kill you, and take your money.
Oh.
At the factories? Really, Karash?
Wait.
I'm surprised. No, I thought Lycidian was, a nice place, kind of.
We're next to the port. Who do you? What?
All right, we stick together then.
All right, we'll go. Karash is convinced we're going to get mugged if we separate, so don't worry, Karash. We'll protect you. No one's going to mug your precious wallet today, friend.
You're gonna get the biggest eye roll in the world from.
To our credit, we have the time. I might as well just do this thoroughly. So.
Okay, well, let's begin then. And Chris, we're going to go one by one to the extent that this can be operationalized. And
It's just 12 warehouses, right? We're just walking past 12 warehouses.
I mean, they're
looking
big,
around.
but we're going... I mean, my goal would be to catch an employee on the outside or maybe peek our heads inside and just ask, like, hey, by the way, have you seen Aurora?
You never know what we're going to see until we start walking around, so...
Yeah.
Okay.
It may become very apparent.
Yep.
Make perception checks.
Maybe the first person we talk to is Aurora.
Maybe Dasso was Aurora.
Have you seen Aurora? I'm Aurora. 14 perception.
Maybe the first person you see is...
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Well,
I rolled a nat 1.
I'm looking.
I got a 4.
So, Karash, you spend a lot of this time as you walk kind of abreast of these 12 warehouses trying to piece together, like, you've been here several times, and you're like, why don't I remember this more? Maybe it was, like, too soon after you got struck by lightning, and so your brain was a little fuzzy. It's a little troubling, actually, because you feel like you should remember more than you do.
Dude, I see the confusion on Karash's face, and I'm like, Karash, are you sure you've been here? Was it a dream? In real life, you've been here.
I sometimes drink a lot when I come into port, but I don't... This seems...
He's broken. Okay. Unless... Oh, no. I thought his camera froze, maybe.
No, he was just doing a very good job holding it. And as you're having this conversation, you also look over at Grail, who isn't even looking in the directions of the warehouses. She's too busy engrossed in dock workers on the opposite side and just the hustle and bustle. And once again, the giant city compared to her usual life has been way too distracting.
Y'all, this is a lot for me.
Are you here with us, Grail? I know it's a big city, but we're here for a purpose.
I kind of snap out of it after you like literally snap in my face, and I'm just kind of like, I'm sorry, I don't think I slept well or something. This is a lot, but I'm here.
God.
I'm here. Let's do this.
So Isaac, between herding your companions like cattle, you do at least have some time to still look around. One of the things you notice pretty quickly is that from this side, since the ships are coming in from the sea and then parking in these warehouses, presumably, there's not a lot to see inside the warehouses. There are not any windows facing this side of the street. There are some bigger doors that will allow for cargo to come out more easily, more like barn-sized doors. Not the size of the doors that would be allowing ships into the warehouse on the other side, but on the street-facing side, there's some decent-sized doors as far as access goes. In passing through the 12 of them, a couple of them are currently open and you can see inside. You don't see any ships in the 2 that are open. People seem to be bringing cargo in, apparently getting ready to load up a ship that might be arriving. Any other ones still have their doors closed and you can't see anything from this vantage point.
So to go to a factory, the first one we come across, all the doors are closed. In order to open it, we'd have to open one of those big doors.
Correct.
Well, I don't know what. Let's try to open it. What do you think? What are they gonna do?
Kick us out?
That's
Mug
fine.
us, apparently, according to Karash.
Karash, do the factory workers themselves do the mud dance as well?
That is a warehouse. Warehouse. Who works in warehouses?
Employees? Muggers? Villains? I'm walking towards the door as I'm like.
I understand that where you come from, people may be a certain way. Those that work in and around docks and on boats tend to be a very different way.
They're harder people, you're saying.
No. Dumb and angry? Often?
I can't wait to meet them, and I try to open the door. I don't know how heavy it is. I'm assuming not crazy heavy, but
Make a strength check.
Oh God, I hope you fail.
How do I roll
You're gonna pull a hammy.
Wait,
If you click on the ability score, I think it does it.
oh, there we
Yeah.
go. I just clicked on the name. 8.
So you go up and you prop yourself up against this door. You lean in with a wide stance with both hands on the handle, and you pull, and you pull, and it is not budging.
Crash,
No.
maybe you can help me get this. Unless it's is something like clicking like it's locked?
You're making such little progress you don't know. Could be locked, could just be too heavy. You're not sure.
Crash, why don't you help me with this really quick?
Why don't we walk around the building and try to find a door or a window or something to look through, a crack, a hole?
Well, I
Something
thought,
that's-
Chris, you said I observed that there's nothing on the other side, but maybe a big hole where the actual ships can come in.
Right.
Can you see in the giant hole where the ships come in?
If you want to go get in the water, yeah.
Crash, do you want me to swim? I'll admit I'm not as good as it as you are.
Oh my God. I don't... What?
Just come on, put your back into it. Let's do it together. 1,
This seems like a terrible idea.
2. On 3, we go together.
All right, I'll try opening the door with this idiot.
3.
Oh God, why? A 10.
Do I need to roll again, or are we just using my same
Or
score?
just, yours is already locked in.
'Kay.
You feel the door start to budge. It's not locked. And with the two of your efforts combined, especially Karash being the strapping boy that he is, strapping snack, you're able to start getting it open, foot or two at a time. It's slow. You can feel how heavy this is. It's reinforced pretty well. And as you get it open about 3 feet, you hear a voice come from back towards the street. says, "Oi, can I help you there?" And as you look over, there is what appears to be 2 guards. You've seen this around just briefly traveling through town. Haven't had really a connection as to what this is, but they all are wearing what appears to be similar white vestments of a sort atop regular armor. All of them seem to be carrying pole arms, and there's 2 of them here that are now, one of them is now just questioned what you're doing here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. We're looking for one of our engineer friends. It's our first time to Lycidian, and it's important that we find her, and we thought maybe surprise her at work. We actually never met her. She's a contact from a friend of ours. It's a long story, but maybe you can help us. This is actually really great.
You see the 2 of them kind of exchange a look, and eventually the same one that chimed in originally says, "You know, seeing engineers, if you haven't met them before, isn't really something that's done around these parts. They're kind of meant to do their work and be left alone, largely. Is it urgent?"
It's pretty urgent. It really is. And I apologize. From where I'm from, people get 15-minute breaks, and it's kind of a lax atmosphere, but it seems like here it's really intense.
Well, depends on which particular place people are working. Some of them are a little lighter. Some of them are really working towards a goal, and they're under crunch time, and it's about how things work around here.
I'm afraid I'm just not used to this hustle and bustle of city life.
Well, you're not going to find much more hustle and bustle than Lycidian, so...
Truly.
I suppose if it's urgent, there's something we can help with?
Yeah, well, we're looking for an engineer. Her name is Aurora, and she is going to be able to kind of help us navigate this area. We're here, we're kind of looking for her, and she's going to help us kind of get our bearings.
You see the 2 of them look at each other upon the mention of the name, and the one who has not spoken yet kind of pulls the original one aside, so they're facing the opposite direction of you, and he seems to be whispering something to him. Moment passes. They turn back around. They say, "Aurora, you say? I suppose we might be able to help with that. Won't you come with us?"
Well, I mean, the factories are right here, so we're thinking she's probably in one of these, and...
Well, she certainly is, yes, and if it's urgent, you should come with us post-haste.
Where would we go?
Well, we can lead you there. I don't want to tell you in advance. It's important that we accompany you, though. You can't just walk into a warehouse. At least as members of the town watch, we might be able to get you inside.
Well, okay, where would we go? Lead the way.
All right, very well. Come with us, then.
So, where are they walking?
Further west.
Can I do an insight check?
Sure.
I don't trust any of this going on near the docks immediately.
Yeah.
I am suspicious of all things dockside, because why wouldn't I be? 10.
18.
Am I doing one? I'm not going to do one.
I don't know. Are you?
No, I'm not doing one.
These are just nice guards. How great. They're helping us out.
I'd say it's not really a group check, but if you have an individual need to, you certainly can. So 18 and 10, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Karash, even... This is going to sound mean. Even in your limited brain space, this does strike you as being a little off. Not necessarily that they're trying to escort you, because what they're saying about the whole, like, you can't just wander into warehouses does check out with your understanding of this place, even though you haven't been here a ton. But still, like, the whispering beforehand kind of sets a little something off for you. Isaac, you could see that in addition, like, while they were kind of conversing between each other, you couldn't really see what they were saying or make out their lips or try and pick off anything, but they were kind of giving you furtive glances in between these short little sentences that they were whispering back to each other.
This is going to be tough, but in the insight, am I getting the sense, did they look like... God, how do I say this? Am I getting a vibe that's, like, menacing? Like, they're like, oh, these fuckers. Or is it a little more soft than that? Like, maybe they're just trying to get us away from this populated area.
Since they turned away to share this conversation, you can only kind of catch their profile when they were looking in your direction. It's hard to say for sure, but it didn't seem especially menacing. It seemed more just off-put, like this is unexpected and not something that they normally would be dealing with.
I'm going with them. I want to find this fucking girl.
I am preparing a charm person spell, but I'm gonna hold it.
Okay, sweet.
While we're walking, I want to try and persuade them to let me know how they know Aurora and how she's like the name immediately triggered something with them. I kind of want to know who the hell or why she's so damned important that they even a couple of guards would know who she is.
And while Karash is talking, I'm just like laser looking at them. I am observing.
Okay. Karash, go make a persuasion check.
A 1.
Shut up. A 2, an 8.
Hey, that's like 4
Hey.
times the highest thing you've rolled today.
Exactly. You're moving up in the world. You kind of strike up conversation with them a bit, and they're not super receptive overall. Primarily, they're like, well, it's not so much that we know Aurora. We just know a lot of the goings-on around here, and we're stationed in this area more often than not, so we're particularly familiar with what goes on by the docks. That's why it's unusual to have someone come down looking for someone they say they haven't met before.
Yeah, we were told to find her by a friend.
Just, you know how it goes, just trying to build a network and make our way through the city. It's so big. I just can't believe it.
Should be noted that as this kind of walk and talk is happening, you're going down additional warehouses to the west here. You've passed at least 4 or 5 of them at this point. Their hands have not left their weapons. They are not directing them towards you. They're not like carrying you along with them or anything, but they also don't seem completely at ease. So just as a point of fact, like again, they're not actively like they're going to stab you as soon as you say anything weird, but they do appear to be at least a little bit on edge.
Let's walk around the warehouses, he said. This will be fun, he said. Let's try and open a door, he said.
We did do all of that, yeah.
Is she at the last warehouse? This is pretty far. We were not even close. It's a good thing you boys showed up.
Yes, well, we aim to serve, and there's a bit of an exasperated tone a little bit. Not directed at you specifically, but just in the sense that it seems like this is a thing the Town Watch has to deal with pretty often as newcomers to town, not knowing what's going on in the town.
Yeah.
They lead you to the 8th warehouse. It's another one of the ones with the doors closed, and they sort of like motion for you to go ahead. So they get up to where like the dock extends out to the warehouse, and then it goes around on both sides. There's like a wooden plank path that goes around on both sides of the warehouse, and they beckon for you to go in ahead of them.
Through the door?
Well, up to the door.
Oh, up to the door.
Yeah, this is like the
All right.
pathway that leads from the street that you've been walking on, across the way from the docks. Now to get across there out to the water where the barn door is for this particular warehouse.
I'm going to play along. My eyes don't leave them, but I am just say, okay, great. Is this it? Should I? And I gesture like opening the door.
Yes, this is the one. Go ahead, open it up.
Great. And I am going to try again. And while I'm doing it, I'm like, I hope this one is not as heavy as the last one. My goodness. These people must be strong in Lycidian. 10.
Okay. It takes a little bit, more than you would probably hope just for that sliver of pride's sake, because, there's town guards watching, but it does, with some considerable force, eventually drag open to the point where even Karash can fit through now.
I was
pretty
going to
comfortably.
say, I'm going to sell it like it's as hard as possible. I didn't need to. It was.
Yeah. Heavy stuff. These are wide, tall doors, and they're also somewhat submersed under the underside here, so it's slow moving. Everybody make a perception check, if you choose.
Oh, God.
This is where they bury the bodies.
Tessie and Lena, how you feeling
are
about
you kidding
your
me
decision
today?
right now?
Warehouse 8.
What now?
How you feeling about your decision to go where you did right now?
Net
Honestly,
20!
Wow.
I'm actually really concerned for other reasons that they haven't realized yet.
So, Michelle got a 20. I got a 24, but she got a nat 20.
And that's a 3 total for Karash.
Yes.
Yeah, it sure is.
Karash, your glance kind of keeps shooting back to the town's watchman.
He's watching for muggers.
Right. Are these the muggers? No, they're not. They're just town's watchmen. They're fine. But they could be muggers, but they're not. Isaac, looking around inside, it's not It's decently well lit. Maybe not as much as it should be for a working environment, but you can see pretty clearly that what is inside this warehouse is not a normal ship. It has the makings of it to some degree. It's not completely dissimilar from other ships that you've seen. Like, it has wooden pieces. It's got a similar ship shape. But what you're also noticing pretty quickly is that there are a number of plates around the outside and other pieces that just remind you of Dunosk's craft that you saw at Rose Lake. This is not like a standard wooden ship that most people would be bringing here. This is definitely something else. And it also still has an in-construction nature to it. Like, it's pretty far along. Not entirely sure how close to completion, but you know boats well enough to at least understand that that boat looks like it's a boat overall. However much is left can't be too much. You can still see tarps draped over a couple pieces of the outside. Like, again, it's not done, but it's pretty well taken shape considering. Grail, in addition to that, you also notice what appears to be a tall, pretty slender, elvish woman walking towards your group, even though she's off to the side, almost in like a darkened corner. You pick up on her quickly as you walk through the doors, and she's coming your direction with seemingly purpose.
And I wave, like, try to, like, really quickly, kind of friendly, and say, "You must be Aurora."
And as she approaches you, she says, "Are you insane?"
And
it would be good to know up front as I'm making new acquaintances. If someone is insane.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say insane.
I don't think we're insane. Are you? I'm not. And I don't think you are. Crash,
No.
Are you insane?
Let's not ask him that.
No, all sane here.
You are unbelievably fortunate that those are town watchmen that have a relationship with me. Wandering around these docks and asking these type of questions in this town is a recipe for disaster.
I'm going to stare at Isaac with death and hate in my eyes. And I'm going to growl a little bit deep down inside my dragonboard belly.
Well, then I hope you understand, ignoring Karash, that we wouldn't be doing it if the reason wasn't very important.
Oh, I certainly hope so. Because if it's not a very good reason, I'm going to turn your asses in myself. Now, please come inside, close the door before we call any more attention to ourselves.
And I close the door, and I kind of like nod thanks to the guards, who turned out to be pretty cool.
She also, as you're closing the door, looks out at them and gives them a nod, and they give like a small bow, and they turn and head back up the street. So, inside this particular warehouse with Aurora, you have managed to find her at the very least. What this means for the pursuit of Sophia and everything else going on in the docks area, we'll find out next time.
Yay!